For more than 1,000 years, China has told the story of a young woman who disguised herself as a man and went to war in her father's place. Today, the world knows her as Mulan. From ancient poems to Hollywood films, her legend has traveled across centuries and cultures. But historians still ask a simple question: did Mulan actually exist? Was she a real warrior, or one of history's most powerful legends? The story of Mulan is simple and unforgettable. In ancient China, the emperor orders every family to send a man to fight in the army. Mulan's father is old and weak, but refusing the order is impossible. So one night, Mulan makes a decision. She cuts her hair, puts on her father's armor, and leaves home disguised as a man. For years, she fights alongside other soldiers. 12 years of war, 12 years of hiding her secret. Her fellow soldiers never suspected the truth. Only after the war ends does she reveal who she really is. And according to the legend, her comrades are stunned. They had fought beside her for over a decade, without ever realizing she was a woman. But the story of Mulan did not begin in movies or novels. The early saint version appears in a poem called the Ballad of Mulan. Historians believe this poem was written sometime between the 5th and 6th centuries, more than 1,500 years ago. And surprisingly, the poem is very short, only a few hundred words. It does not describe grand battles or dramatic speeches. Instead, it focuses on something much quieter: a daughter worried about her father. In the poem, Mulan hears the army draft being announced. Her father's name is on the list, and she knows he is too old to survive the war. So she takes his place. Not for glory, not for fame, but for family. To understand the story of Mulan, we need to understand the world she might have lived in. The poem likely takes place during the Northern Wei dynasty. This was a turbulent time in Chinese history. Northern China was ruled by the Xianbai, a group of nomadic warriors from the steppes. Their society was very different from traditional Chinese culture. Women often rode horses. Some even fought in battle. This detail is important because in many nomadic societies, women had far more freedom than in later imperial China. So while a female warrior might sound impossible today, in that historical context, it may not have been so unusual. But here is where the mystery begins. Despite her fame, Mulan does not appear in official historical records, not in imperial archives, not in military histories, not in biographies of famous generals. For a figure supposedly involved in years of warfare, this absence is striking. Some historians believe this means Mulan was simply a fictional character, a symbolic story created by poets. Others argue something different. They believe the story may have been based on a real person, whose name was later forgotten. In ancient times, stories were often passed down orally. Real events could slowly transform into legends. Details changed, names evolved, and eventually history became myth. Whether Mulan was real or not, her story survived for a reason. It captured values that were deeply important in Chinese culture. First, filial piety, loyalty to one's parents. Mulan goes to war not for herself, but to protect her father. Second, courage. She enters a world dominated by men and proves she belongs there. And third, humility. In many versions of the story, Mulan refuses rewards after the war. She simply returns home. These themes helped the story endure for centuries. During later dynasties, the legend of Mulan was retold again and again in operas, in novels, in plays. Each generation reshaped the story for its own time. In modern times, Mulan's story traveled far beyond China. The legend reached global audiences through films like Mulan and later Mulan. These adaptations introduced the story to millions of people around the world, but they also changed many details. In the original poem, there is no talking dragon, no elaborate training montage, and no dramatic love story. The real legend is quieter, but in many ways more powerful. Because at its heart, it is not just a story about war. It is a story about duty, about identity, and about courage in unexpected places.